Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Our national debt is on a nonstop upward trajectory. Government leaders and members of Congress just continue their debate on what to do about spending and the debt ceiling. What does all this mean for you? Eric has some thoughts on that, and he's going to be sharing those with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. He and his team are located right here in Silicon Valley, and they've been helping people have remarkable retirements for over 30 years now. And Eric's goal is to help you weather almost any economic storm. So let's start off by getting you the phone number, because I'm sure you'll want to call with questions. 800-454-1184. You can even text the word visit at this same number, 800-454-1184 for a complimentary appointment. You can also get our complimentary Toolbox, which includes Eric's book, Worry Less Wealth, plus some really valuable educational materials that you won't want to miss out on. Easy reads. All you have to do, text the word Toolbox to 800-454-1184. And find us online anytime at wealthcreatorradio.com. Eric, hello to you.
Hey, Luann. Yeah, it's that time of year, I guess, or, well, I don't know if it has a certain time of year necessarily, but the political cartoon and charade of, hey, we're hitting our credit limit. Let's raise it. Right?
Exactly.
And unfortunately, there's not much talk about what should we do to reduce spending or any of these other things. And it's kind of a silly thing where they say, okay, we can't spend only this much until once we hit there, we have to all fight and battle over it and then raise it again.
Right.
And there's really not much difference with either political party. One of the things that we often show is actually the national debt clock in a lot of our live events. And I saved the one from 2017 where it was at 20 trillion.
Yeah.
And, and then after the Trump term, it went up to almost 27, and then now it's over 31 trillion.
Right.
And so that's a huge increase in just, not even, it was actually in October of 17. So we're not even talking a full 6 years or 5.5 years. It went more than double, or more than 50% increase, I should say. And so, that's a big jump and something to be concerned about, because how are they going to pay that back? Well, they either have to cut like any of us, cut expenses or make more money. And the only way they make more money is raising taxes.
Us. We pay for it. We pay for their mistakes. And, so funny to me, Eric, because we are all responsible citizens, and we try, most of us try to, watch what we spend, watch our spending, and actually budget where they don't. And I just can't believe they're just not a good example for all of us. And then, then we in turn have to pay for everything. So, this is something that Capitol Hill talks about all the time. It's kind of their stuff, but it does impact the average citizen. So why don't you break all that down for us, please?
Well, if it does get to crazy levels where they, shut down the government and stop paying people, we saw that several years ago where all of a sudden, a lot of government workers didn't have incomes and they're still supposed to go to work. And,
I know.
That's not very nice.
No.
And of course, they don't have money to go out in the economy and buy things and do things. And so that it does wreak a lot of havoc on things. It's always a short-term issue, but it does, affect the stock market, affects a lot of things. Again, usually it's over after a month or so, but these are things that we don't need to have happen, right? We have enough real things, enough real emergencies versus, kind of really just political made up emergencies is really what these are.
So what about the impact on retirees then specifically, Eric?
Well, I mean, one of the things that, of course, they're not talking about is how to fix Social Security, and, around 2035, 2036, 2034. It keeps bouncing around the last several years, but at some point they're not going to be able to pay for 100% of their benefits, only about 80%, which is kind of leaves you going, okay, well, then what do you do? Mm-hmm. And nobody really knows yet. And so that's one of those things where it used to sound like a long, long time away. And now that's pretty much within 10 years, just about. That's something that they really need to be working on, and that's stuff that is going to get critical. But yeah, we don't see them talking about that. We just see them talking about these short-term little gimmicky things. And, and so that's something where, again, you have to build up your own independent lifetime income. You have to have your own sources of income that's not government dependent, that's not obviously going to be your pension, because most of us don't have one, right? So you got to go out there and create your own. And that's one of the things that we can help people with, and we have this process called creating the blueprint to worry less wealth. And really what worry less wealth means is, if you don't have to worry every day about, am I going to be okay in retirement? Am I going to have a check coming in? Does all this government stuff affect me that bad? Right? All these things. And so, that's where we're trying to get you to. We've got some quick reads up there of like, how long will your money last? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? Social Security decision about when to turn it on. And of course, my book, Worry Less Wealth. So, again, this is a great free digital toolbox that we've set up and created for people just to download on their own. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
So we're talking how the federal government keeps spending, and the way it's going to pay its bills are to obviously tax us, the citizens. What kinds of questions are you hearing right now, Eric, about tax increases?
Well, they're guaranteed. And, a lot of times you can't technically say that, but the Trump tax laws go away at the end of 2025, which that's 2 years from now.
Right.
Right. So
yeah.
You got 2.5 years left of low rates. This is a huge opportunity. I mean, this is an opportunity that people don't get very often. With the market still being down some and the taxes we know are going up. Oh my gosh, this is such a great time to be doing some changes to your portfolio, doing some maybe Roth conversions, looking at saying, let's pay some of that tax now and get rid of that tax for the rest of our life. That way the government can't go back after that pot of money because it's tax-free now. And so there's some great options. Also, with the interest rates hikes that we've had, some of these guaranteed products, I mean, they can earn up to double-digit returns without risk and without cost. I mean, this is the time really for a lot of people to be going, whoa, I need to do something. I need to take advantage of it. You don't go shopping. You don't wait till the sale ends to go to the store, right? And buy your clothes or whatever. If the sale's on, you want to get it right then. If the sale's about to end, you rush out and get whatever you need before those prices go back up. And that's what's happening right now. And so it's kind of crazy how great things are, even though people always talk about all the bad stuff. Things are really, really good right now, and this is one of the best times to take some action. So you should be doing some tax planning. And if your financial advisor doesn't know taxes, isn't licensed to do tax advice, oh my gosh, you need somebody who knows how to do taxes. So
exactly.
That is such a critical thing for us right now. So that's one of the things that we do here at Heckman Financial. We can actually create that blueprint to worry less wealth, which, there's no cost, no obligation. We just set up a 15 to 30 minute phone call, find out what's going on in your situation. And then if it makes sense, we go through that income plan, that investment, tax plan, healthcare, and legacy plan. I mean, those income, investments, and taxes all are very intertwined. So you got to have a good plan that goes over all of them together. So again, if you want to set that up, all you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
We have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more from Eric. This is Wealth Creator Radio.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. He's president of Heckman Financial right here in Silicon Valley. And today, as always, you're getting straightforward advice on how to plan for a secure and more comfortable retirement. We're so happy to have you along with us today. Fewer than 1 in 4 Americans think that their current retirement lifestyle actually aligns to what they had planned for retirement. So it turns out it's one thing to dream about retirement, yet it's another thing to actually live in retirement every single day. Eric, you see this every day, don't you?
Yeah, certainly. And it's always a big adjustment at first, and then people kind of get into a groove, and some really thrive on it, and some, maybe not as much. So it is definitely good to have a plan for this.
Yeah. Okay. So Dr. David Eckert, he actually taught about aging and retirement when he was a professor at the University of Kansas for 44 years. He wrote about his own transition into retirement in the Wall Street Journal, and he admitted that while it's one thing to know intellectually what happens with retirement, living through it is actually another thing altogether. I want you to hear what he says here, Eric. We actually spoke with him. He said nearly 2 years into his retirement, really one of the biggest surprises is just how he feels about his use of time now.
In my case, I was a professor and I had to teach these classes and I had to attend these meetings and, in other words, meet these time commitments. But really, the relaxation came from taking pressure off of myself. In order to have, as many people do, a successful career, you put pressure on yourself to attempt things and try things and learn things and go for opportunities. And when I no longer had to do that, that was the thing that really, really relaxed me. It doesn't matter now what time in the morning I start my walk or what time in the afternoon I decide to finish the crossword puzzle. Time is much less a pressing thing for me.
So your reaction to that, are you hearing that from retirees who have just retired?
Well, when they first retire, it's, one of those weird things where are you on vacation or, are you actually done, right? So,
yeah.
And so once they kind of pass that part, they kind of do usually get into some sort of groove, kind of like what he's talking about there, have some certain things. But I've got some that they get so involved in so many other things. They're actually almost more busy in retirement. And lots of times, I would say the majority of my clients, when they, after about 6 to 9 months after being retired, they always wonder how they had time to work because they're doing all these other things. Right. But it's things that you want to be doing, right? Not things that you have to be doing. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing about that. Some even go off and go have fun jobs, So it's not necessarily that they always fully retire. Sometimes they do what they want. I've got one client who's she worked in the medical field, but more in the HR side of things, and she always wanted to help people. So she's getting a degree in licensed counseling type stuff, and so she's enjoying her classes, being a student again in her 60s, right, and stuff. So she's not doing it because she needs the money. She's just doing it because
for fun.
She wants to learn more, and then she wants to be able to help people. So it could be having more fun. I've got a lot of clients that are become professional babysitters because of the grandkids, right? So they're doing a lot of that too. So there's a lot of things that you do definitely change. It is one of those things where you do kind of want to plan it out, but of course it is not real until you experience, right?
Until you actually experience it. And Dr. Eckert says that, he even himself has experienced that internal conflict with all that free time. So he says this.
As I put it, I have 2 angels on my shoulder. One angel whispers in my ear, relax, take it easy. The other angel whispers in my ear, shouldn't you be doing something right now?
I think I feel like that even when I'm on like a Christmas break or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely if you're used to having to, go to this meeting or go do this or go do that, obviously it's your own schedule now, but depends on how you fill it out. I've had some people there. They watch way too much news,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that makes them way too depressed. They think they only hear the bad stuff that's going on out there. They don't hear any of the positive things, that all the great stuff that's going on, and and then you can see it, and they tend to not do as much. Then they tend to stay home more.
Aw,
The ones that go off and get involved, they go out and go to lunches with people, or go out with some of the people you used to work with, and just to kind of stay in check. And there's a lot of things. I mean, over the last 31 years of my career, I've seen a lot of people, obviously retire and help them retire, and I don't think any of them are upset about being retired. I've never met one, who didn't like it. Now some of them do go get, like I said, fun jobs or do stuff for entertaining or just sometimes for the challenge of it. So that's one way. But obviously you can also just get involved in a lot of charities. I had one client that was teaching kids how to sail, and he was also into one of those handbell choirs.
Oh, yeah.
And
I love it.
he just got involved in a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden, your time's filled up. So I think it's more about community and being active. If you're going to stay home and be in front of the TV and hear all that depressing stuff all day, that probably won't be quite as fun.
Right, exactly.
And so it's really having a plan for all that.
The way we plan our time doesn't seem like, anything we'd need to talk to a financial professional about or advisor about. Why is that something you, as a financial advisor, would want to know about, Eric?
Well, one of the first things I always like to ask people is what's your perfect weekend, or what's your perfect vacation? Just so that way you kind of start knowing what they like to do and knowing what they want to do. And that can be really key, because obviously once you jump into that new world of not go, and you get to design, you get to figure out your own time, you get to see what you want to do. You do get those feelings like you should be doing something, right? Like you said. And so that's part of our blueprint to worry less wealth, where we really go over how to worry less about things in retirement. If you have less worry about your money, you have less worry about taxes, all these other things, then you get to find more time to plan that next fun trip, or you get to figure out what other kind of activities you want to do, because you're going to be okay. So that's one of the biggest keys is having that knowledge and having that sound background going, hey, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to have to be worried about my portfolio. I'm not going to have to cancel my trip because the market's down, or do this because of this, all those types of things that you hear people do in retirement. So, again, if you want to get a little bit more information about that, we've got all these great tools about, will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much in taxes in retirement? Just finding your own balance in retirement. And even my book, Worry Less Wealth. You can even set a time to talk with us for 15 to 30 minutes if you want. So all that's located at our website. So all you have to do is text the word Toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, 800-454-1184. Or you can book it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Let's just kind of talk about that meeting when your retirees do come in. They give you their ideas, their dreams that they want to do, and tell us what goes into that strategy to turning those dreams into a reality.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things is just making sure you have a written plan. It's kind of like, you're driving someplace, you're going on a vacation, and then all of a sudden you've got no cell signal, but you're having to look up things, and your phone's not working, and now you're just lost in the desert, right?
Yes.
Or someplace. That's what we don't want. We want to make sure people have a written plan, so that way you feel less worry. Once you have that blueprint to worry less wealth, you kind of know, hey, I've got this much money I can spend every month. That includes my fun fund, which is a fun term I like to use.
Yeah.
So for vacations or hobbies or whatever, we've got that built in. So we know how much we're going to spend. We know how much we're going to be able to live on. And we know that we've got some money that's guaranteed. So if the market's down, we know we can grab that money when it's down. When the market's up, obviously we can get it. And then in between, we've got some steady income money that's paying us good cash flow. So that way we don't have to worry about selling shares every month just to be, remain in retirement. And so, those are the things that really people need to be looking for. When we first have that 15 to 30 minute call, we just find out what's going on, what's your worries, what's your concerns. And then we used to charge a fee for this, but we don't even charge a fee anymore for this blueprint. We'll take you through this whole thing. We'll bet a couple hours of time on our side for my team to prepare all this, to get all this stuff ready. We'll walk you through it. And then at the end of that second meeting, if you want to work with us, you can. If not, hey, it will just part as friends and it'll be fine. So again, you really want to have that analysis saying, yeah, I am okay, or no, I need to work a couple more years. And unfortunately, that's sometimes the answer too. And so at least we'll tell you this ahead of time. And then that way you know, how much money can I live on? When can I retire? How much cash flow will be there? Will some of it be guaranteed from loss? So again, if that's something you want to take advantage of, either text the word visit to set up a time, or just go get all of our resources at our Toolbox site, which is the easiest way to get that again is just text the word Toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word Toolbox, 800-454-1184, or request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And Wealth Creator Radio continues with Eric Heckman right after this.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio.
And that's how it's done.
That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
Hi, you're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer. Eric is president at Heckman Financial, where their mission is to help you get to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. We're talking today about how fewer than 1 in 4 Americans think their current retirement lifestyle actually aligns to what they had planned for retirement to be. So as we're discussing today, it's one thing to dream about retirement, but it's another thing to live in retirement every single day. We've been talking about Dr. David Eckert about aging. He wrote a book. Actually, he taught about it for over 4 decades at the University of Kansas. He retired himself in 2020. He says one of the really main factors is that when it comes to retirement, we have to think about not only how we spend our time, but what happens when our spouse retires at the same time.
You know, I married him for better or worse, but not for lunch.
So, like, let's say one of them has already been, retired for a while, then the next one comes, and then it kind of ruins the the first one's schedule. They're not used to the other one hanging around, right?
Yeah, this is definitely a big issue, and I always, half jokingly and definitely seriously ask if one's already retired or one's been at home for a while. I always just say, are you gonna be okay with him or her, now being home all day? Well, what are you guys going to be doing and stuff? And a lot of people actually kind of got a little bit exposed to this during COVID just because of their working from home. So they, in a weird way, that actually helped, I think, some people because, they learned separate bedrooms for your offices right and things like that to so that way you have your own free time to without bugging each other. But and then of course the other joke of course is how long's the honeydew list for when you retire and all the things that you're supposed to get done and so that's usually one of the answers is, well, they'll be off doing all the things that they haven't done the last 5 or 10 years. So we'll figure that out once that list is done, and which may never happen.
Right. It's so funny. So the good news, Eric, that Dr. Eckert said, he did research on how people act in retirement, how they adapt to retirement. And he did find that really there's not going to be any serious effect on a marriage, but there will be adjustments to make. These things won't actually threaten your retirement. Here's what he said. Last thing.
People really actually look forward to retirement as a time that they can finally spend together. After decades of raising children and marching off to work, now they can enjoy one another's together and engage in activities that they would like to explore.
Like you just said, once they get used to, each other being right there in the same, household 24/7. So when you are dealing with couples, how important is it to have this communication about everybody's expectations and goals for retirement?
I've had some interesting conversations with people where, sometimes one of them traveled a ton for work, and One of their goals in retirement is to not travel.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one didn't get to go on those trips. And they want to travel. And so sometimes they have to go out and find a friend who wants to travel with them and stuff. And sometimes it's halfway between. Some want to just do U.S. travel and sick of doing international, where the other one wants to do those international trips. So there is some things like those kind of issues that are adjustments that you have to make and things that you might need to think about. And obviously it depends on what kind of, activities they want to do, as long as they're, if one person wants to go out a lot and do a bunch of stuff outside and the other one's more homebody or whatever you want to call it, somebody who likes to do all the stuff around the house, well, there might be some tensions there. But a lot of them do want to just, they want to do all these big trips and they're totally on board with each other, and they've got enough time. And so I'd say most of the time it's pretty positive. I guess I'd agree with him on that part of things, but there are definitely some things that you have to figure out is, who's going to do what or who wants to do what. And, it is one of those weird things where people focus so much on the money, they kind of forget on the money's only a little bit of it. The time's way bigger.
Way bigger.
Right?
So
you might think about the money for a few minutes or a few hours, but you're going to be home all day long. So,
Eric, let's talk about some of the big difference between helping a single person plan for retirement and then helping a couple. What are some things that couples need to account for?
Well, the big one there is obviously that after one person passes away, is there going to still be enough income? Because your property tax, your Wi-Fi bill, a lot of things don't get cut in half just because there's only one person living there. One thing that does get pretty much usually chopped in half almost is your Social Security income, right? You lose the smaller check, but you retain the bigger of the two checks. So I would say that's probably the bigger one in terms of the financial side. Obviously for the, I don't know if you want to call it emotional side, but it's just the physical side of, you both being home and doing those things like we were talking about. You're going to have to be able to get used to being around each other more. Lots of times with single people, they're going to be off more with friends, or they're going to be doing their own adventures, and they don't have to kind of get somebody else's buy-in. I've got one client who she fixed up this van where she can go camping and do stuff, and so she has a place out in Michigan and a place here, so she'll do little tours and national parks and things along the way. And she doesn't have to ask anybody else if they want to go, right? Or if they want to do that. Whereas, sometimes one spouse might want hotel rooms and the other one might be fine with camping, but okay, how do you rectify that? How do you get those two on the same page? So, one of the things that actually creating that blueprint to worry less wealth does, it kind of has you, talk with a third person, talk with us about that. And so the last 30 years, we've seen a lot of people, lots of different situations. So we kind of give you some pointers and some tips about how to, really how to overcome some of those slight differences that there might be between the two of you, and figuring out, okay, how can we solve these issues in retirement? And, again, part of it's just having the plan, right? Having that income plan that knows how long your money's going to last, having that investment plan, knowing how much risk you have, and having some money that's guaranteed, having some foundational money, some steady income stuff on top of the market dollars, making sure your taxes are as low as they can be over your lifetime, not just over 1 year. So again, over your lifetime, you want to pay the least amount of tax. And then, looking at the healthcare legacy issues, those are the 5 areas of the blueprint to worry less wealth. And, that's something if you wanted to take advantage of, all you have to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184. Or you can book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And if you have questions right now as you're listening to our show, pick up the phone and call right now, because we have people standing by to take your call. And, Eric, you have said your system works very, very well for retirees. So people don't want to miss this opportunity to call in, come in and see you for a complimentary appointment. One thing we talk about a lot, Eric, is the fact that women statistically outlive men by about 6 years. So a lot of wives are going to be outliving their husbands in retirement. Let's talk about how that fact comes into play when you are doing the planning with couples.
Yeah, well, that can be a really critical one. Especially since, unfortunately, a lot of women typically are less involved in the finances. More and more of a lot of my clients, the women are taking charge and paying attention, but there's still a lot that, they just say, hey, why don't you just take care of it for me? Well, when somebody passes away, all of a sudden they're in this big fog of what do I do now? How do I pay my bills? Where's these accounts? What am I supposed to be doing? And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, they lose that Social Security check, the smaller of the two. The bills don't cut in half, so maybe the food bill might drop by some, but even that doesn't cut in half. And so a lot of the expenses are still there, but now they're having to do everything. That's one of those things where you need to know how much money you have. You need to know where you're at, financially. And so one of the things we've put together in our toolbox is 10 tips to empower women investors. And I think it's a really critical thing for women to learn about and know. There's a lot of other great tips. There's my book. You can set a time. All this great material is set up online, all easy to read. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we'll be right back with Eric and Wealth Creator Radio.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Eric is president of Heckman Financial for 28 years now, and he wrote the book Worry Less Wealth to open up our eyes to all the things available for us to have a remarkable retirement. And that's what the show is all about. If you want to get that book, you can request it online, or you can also request an e-version of that book as well. Of course, wealthcreatorradio.com is the website. All right, Eric, we've come to the time in our show. I'm going to give you some top 5 signs that you need a new advisor, okay? So if you're feeling like you, our listeners, are feeling like maybe you just dread going to your advisor, you might feel like your questions are going unanswered. Maybe you're bothering that person. So here we go. Top 5 signs you need a new advisor. And Eric, this comes from NerdWallet. Number 5 is, if your eye is already wandering, then you might need a new advisor. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, if it feels like things aren't working out, or, for whatever reason, you're starting to say, hey, yeah, this just doesn't feel right, usually that's correct. A lot of times, listening to your gut is a good way to go.
Maybe it's time for a second opinion, something like that.
Yep, exactly.
So if your advisor only calls you when they want to make some trades, that's another sign that you might need a new advisor. Can you talk about why that would be problematic, Eric?
Well, it really depends also on how are they getting paid. I mean, if they're only calling you to move money around because they're going to get a new paycheck every time they're moving that money, that's really, really problematic. And I would definitely run from that advisor, as soon as possible. There's one thing if they're just making some changes and tweaks, but really they should be calling you on a regular basis. If it was a bad time, if there's a crash or downturn and they did not call you, that is a serious sign for you to get a new advisor, because that's when you need to hear from them more than ever.
Right. Big time red flag. So how often do you think we should be talking with our advisor?
Well, really, I think that one is something that you need to kind of set those expectations up from day one. And I mean, some of my clients hate talking about money. I mean, they just really, they think it's painful, and they'd rather not do it, but it's kind of like dentistry. They know it's something they got to do, so they'll go do it. Some people, they only want to talk once a year, and that's already painful enough. And some people want to talk every quarter, every 6 months. So, I mean, I would say, it has to be at least every year, but, for some things you might want to be checking in at least every 6 months. So again, the biggest thing is, did you set up that plan? Did they ask you how often do you want to be meeting with people, and are they following up and continuing with that, right? I mean, if they haven't met with you for 2 or 3 years, oh my gosh, yeah, time for a new one.
Another sign that you might need a new advisor is if your financial situation is changing, but the advice isn't. Eric, what kinds of changes need to be happening with our money as we get close to retirement?
Well, I think if you're an adult and you're going to a pediatrician, it'd be very weird, right? I mean, you'd be very tall compared to all the other patients, and yes, they give you usually a lollipop or something, so that part's cool, or maybe a toy.
Yeah.
But it just feels weird, and you probably actually nowadays they'd probably think you're pretty creepy to even be there. So same thing with financial stuff. I mean, as you're getting closer to retirement, if they're just saying, oh, just hang in there or just hold on, or yeah, no, we don't need to make any changes, but you're going to retire next year or 2 years, and they're not positioning assets to start having money come out. They're not figuring out a plan to where those monies should be today to optimize the best income for you in retirement. Those would be really big red flags that that should be changing as you get older. And I mean, obviously simple things like, if you got divorced or married or had a kid or any of those things, did they start talking to you about the new things that need to be taken care of, during those life changes and such. So, if they're not doing that and they're just kind of giving you the same stuff, well, we were talking about robo advisors earlier. Maybe, that's what you should do, is have somebody like that and not be paying them. But I would then really start looking for a new full service advisor.
That's why it's really important to have that right person helping you.
You can have an accountant for sure, but the accountants, again, are usually focused on trying to save money and lower taxes today. So sometimes I have accountants tell my clients, hey, you should be doing this. And we look at their plan and go, that would actually end up costing you more taxes in the long run. Are you sure you want to do that? There's different types of planning. There's different types of reasons. Lots of times, though, hey, we should be doing some Roth conversions, and we should be looking at that and have your accountant run the numbers, and we could see if that makes sense in your situation. So, there's a lot of things where you can work together with those other professionals. And really, whoever's your financial advisor is now, if they're not working with your other professionals, if they're not looking at your tax return every year to see how things are playing out, that's a sign that they're really not doing a very good job. They really should be looking at all that. They should be checking your beneficiaries for you. They should be looking at the tax return every year to see if it's working with your plan. So if that's something that you want to take care of and you want to get a second opinion and say, hey, how are things, what would things be like if I was working with somebody else? How's my advisor doing? What does it all look like? One of the things that we're doing here for our radio listeners is we're waiving the planning fee. So our $1,000 to $1,500 planning fee is not there. We're going to first and foremost just find out what you're worried about, what's your concerns, and then we can build you that blueprint to worry less wealth. We'll show you what plan you have now, that income, investment, tax, healthcare, legacy plan. We'll go through that blueprint to worry less wealth, show you the path you're on, tell you what's good and bad, what things you might want to change, and then it's up to you if you want to take action and use us or do it on your own or do it with your other advisor. But really the big critical thing is getting that information first. So again, if that's something you want to take advantage of, all you got to do is give us a call. 800-454-1184. Again, give us a call and leave us a message at 800-454-1184, or you can book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
You're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman, and Eric advises his clients by helping them preserve their assets, increase their income, and reduce taxes, just like he's talking about today. So we are giving you the top 5 signs that you need a new advisor. Number 2 on the list, Eric, is your financial advisor does not listen to you. And that seems like a pretty big problem. So, Eric, how do you make sure that your clients know that you hear and you understand their concerns?
Well, I think women probably run into this more than anyone, but there'll be some advisors that literally will only talk to the man and ignore the other half of the family there. And that's not right. So if you're getting that feeling, definitely you need a new advisor. If you're asking them a question, they should be responding to you, answering your concerns, not just blowing it off and just moving on. And if they seem to keep doing that, I would ask them directly. And if they still don't give you a good answer, then yeah, it's definitely time to find somebody different. And they really should be finding out what your concerns, what your goals, where do you want to be in 3 years? What do you think things are going to be like? And what would you like your life to be like? And, if they don't know those things, how are they going to help you get there?
And finally, our number one of our top 5 signs you need a new advisor is you're afraid to call your financial advisor. Eric, what advice do you have for someone who feels like they might be bothering their current advisor when they have questions?
That's really silly. If somebody's got that kind of feeling, because that means that advisor has not made them feel very welcome. I mean, really, our clients are truly friends and family kind of thing. I mean, we're there. We help them do a lot of stuff, and we'll talk to them about all the different little things and their pets and all the, their trips and things like that. And sometimes people do actually call me up and say, hey, I didn't know if I should bother. And it's like, no, I want you to call me. You should be asking those questions. And if you're feeling like that person's not going to want you to talk to them or feel scared to talk to them, then yeah, it's time. They're not giving you a good feeling, and they're not really there for you. They're causing that feeling for some reason. So that's time definitely to make a change.
What would you say to them about getting a second opinion, Eric?
Well, I think that it's just so critical. I mean, just like if you had a big ailment and, scary medical diagnosis, you're going to get some other people's opinions, right? You're going to find out, what should you be doing? You're not going to just hopefully go on to Yelp and read, all the bad reviews or something like, reviews are so sketchy if they're real or not anymore, right? You want to talk to somebody who's a professional, and you want to talk to somebody who can give you real advice. And, that's one of the things we can do for you is we can help people, give them that second opinion and say, okay, here, let's run out your plan. Let's see what your income plan looks like. We will go through it on our system with you to make sure we know it's correct. And, we'll look at those investments. What's the risk level that you have? And is it appropriate? And do you even know what your risk level is? What's the tax plan that you have? And is that being done well or is it being ignored? What are the healthcare issues and how are you going to pay for all those costs? And then lastly, who's getting your stuff and are things set up right? Once you can see all that from another pair of eyes, it may be sometimes I've literally had people go, hey, they're doing great. They're doing a good job for you. Not anything we can do. But there's a lot of people where it's like, wow, no, there's some changes you should be making. And did you know about this or that? And, and that's the kind of info you really need to have. So again, there's no cost right now for radio listeners. So if you want to give us a call, and we'll do that blueprint to worry less wealth, give us a call at 800-454-1184. Again, 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com. wealthcreatorradio.com.
Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. On our show at this time, we always discuss some challenges, maybe even some risks that exist in retirement. So I wanted you to give us an example today of someone who's experienced one of those retirement obstacles, as we call it.
Just kind of reminds me of we'll just call him Joe, but he came to me and he was, one of these guys who loved his job, wanted to keep working, but then finally started saying, hey, maybe I should slow down here and, make it more work optional kind of thing, right? And so he wanted to start finally doing some planning. The only issue is he was about to turn 70. And so he put everything into pre-tax stuff, so 401ks and IRAs, and he was worried about taxes. Well, at 70, it used to be you had to be 70 and a half where you had to take your money out of your IRA. Now it's 72, but still, he's already at Social Security max age. So he's got that income coming in. And with everything being taxable, the tax planning is not much, right? It's just pay the tax. So, so it's pretty tough to do stuff like that. Now how do you talk to me 5-10 years earlier, we could have been doing some stuff. We could have had some time to maybe do some conversions or at least fund some stuff differently or move some money around. But when 100% of your money is all pre-tax, guess what? When you take that money out, it's 100% taxable. So that left me not much options in terms of what we can do, because then also in another year, not the same year because it's 72 now, so he has 1 year gap where he could do, we can finally do a little bit of stuff, but it's very small compared to had we had a little bit more runway to kind of take off kind of thing, right? So yeah, I mean, and that's one of the problems I run into a lot of times is people, it's we're all bad about that, right? We all like to procrastinate, and there's always those people on the news where they're dropping off their tax return on at almost midnight at post office, although nowadays it's more push the button, hit send, right? But it's one of these things where we like to procrastinate, but man, it can cost you a ton of money by doing that. And so if you do just take some time and say, okay, how can I have some more diversity? Because the other problem too is almost all of his money is in the market, so he had a huge amount of risk. Yeah, if you're 5 to 10 years out, that's when you really need to sit down and take some plans. So, again, that's something if you want to take advantage of our time, hey, we'll go through that planning process. We'll show you the course you're on. We'll show you your blueprint to worry less wealth. We'll show you that income, investment, tax, healthcare, and legacy plan. And then it's up to you if you want to work with us or not, but at least you'll get that information. Again, we're waiving that fee. So, if you want to set up a time, you can either call and leave a message or text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, 800-454-1184. Text word visit 800-454-1184 or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com. That's all for this week's show. We'll be back next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.